all you beautiful people out there in MP4 land. This is your old pal Pete Clark in the cab, and this is our latest episode of Driving You Mad. Okay, got my Coast Guard ball cap on, as opposed to my silly leather hat. Some people like the silly leather hat. Some people have told me that it's just a silly leather hat. I don't care either way. Today, I kind of went into yesterday. I was talking about communism, and I pointed out the Russians and the Chinese, but I really need to expand a little bit and explain to you that it's not. I'm gonna move me a little bit over here. Is that good? Can you see me? A lot of glare. I'm trying to keep the glare down. It's a beautiful sunny Saturday afternoon here in Reno. Temperatures getting up into the 90s. If you're in Reno, this is the place to be. Anyway, communism is not just the Chinese and the Russians. We have it right here in America. Its home is the Democrat Party. Oh, hey, happy people. You would think originally the Democrats and I want to go over their history and why it's foolish to listen to communists, because we've been here, we've done this. None of what they're saying is new. I mean, I was having a discussion with an atheist recently, and he was trying to say, well, science alleviates the need for God, because science, we have found out how all of these things have happened naturally. And I pointed out to him that all of the fathers of in all of the scientific disciplines were themselves devout men of God who were simply seeking to understand how God created the heavens and the earth. And he was like, well, everybody born then was Christian. That was just, you were born, you were Christian. Not true. Atheism has been around for as long as Christianity. There have been people saying, no, there is no God, there is no Christ, there are no spiritual anything. It's all just natural. In fact, when Darwin came up with his theory of natural selection, he was simply expanding on his own father's ideology. His father was an atheist, and they were stuck trying to explain all of the different kinds of life, and that God created things that were fit for their niche, as it were, and therefore the atheists themselves, they had nothing to hang their hat on. They had no hook, no thing to say, well, no, you don't need God because we have this. When everybody said, well, okay, if we have this, then explain all of that. And the explanation was, and don't get caught up in thinking or saying, oh, the explanation is just faith. No. The explanation is God. God didn't roll the dice with the making of the universe. It's very ordered. It's very complex. And the hand of an intelligent designer is written all over it. And I'll tell you what I mean here in a minute. But what I'm popping off on here is simply the concept of atheism is no more new than the concept of communism, or actually one versus the other. Trying to say the collective is more important than the individual, which is the heart of communism. We are all a commune. We are a community. Socialism, it's all social. It's all a society. Well, these aren't new concepts, and they are always in direct contradiction to the most important facet of civilization, which is the individual. The individual has got to go to work now. is what the individual is. So
25
I is going to go
seconds
to work,
accept.
and we will pick this up in a bit.
You have
Hello again. Okay, where was I? Ah, yes, the individual. When we were cavemen, the group, the collective, the party that you were a part of was in everybody's business. Nobody had secrets. Nobody had any really autonomy because there were no walls unless you went out on your own and made it on your own. Everybody in your little club, everybody in your group, everybody in your clan knew pretty much everything going on in your life. The more civilized we become, the more important anonymity and the individual become. In fact, that's a large part of what civilization is getting you out of my business. In fact, that's government has very few jobs. Conservative government, small government, Republican government, very few jobs. Protect individuals, police, they gotta, stop crooks from stealing from you, unless you live in one of the big Democrat cities where they say, oh no, be sure to carry around enough cash that if you get robbed, you've got some to give to the burglar. Criminals are celebrating that shit. You think they're saying, oh well, we should slow down our criminality because we get to steal from people with impunity now. Do you honestly think that's going to stop criminals from being criminals? No, it's just going to encourage more of it. But that's what these Democrat, leftist, communist, shitwad leaders are telling you to do. The government should also provide national defense. Now, we did at one point, we had what was called the militia. That's every man between the age of X and Y had better have a well-regulated, which means everything was regulation, like a regulation softball or a regulation height on a basketball hoop. Okay, that just meant when we say well-regulated, that doesn't mean a bunch of regulations tying them down. That meant everything within regulation. So guns that worked, bullets that shot, the puckle gun, which was a machine gun. It meant every man-jack in the country ought to be able to muster and defend the country with military-style weapons. Yes, military-style weapons. The government also needs to provide courts so that you don't cheat me legally out of what is mine and I can't cheat you. The government also has to provide a framework of, well, that's it, really. The government shouldn't be involved in commerce. They should merely be a referee. And yet we get the government involved in commerce. Now we're talking communism. The government doesn't have any money. The government doesn't make any money. The government, well, they manufacture money, which is what they're doing right now with this COVID communism. They are flooding our monetary system with trillions of dollars which do not exist. There's no gold backing those trillions of dollars. There is no genuine value to those trillions of dollars. They're just printing it out of thin air. That is why counterfeiting is illegal. You will dilute the value of the current money. You will run out of value, and you find that, what used to cost you $10 now costs you $100. Only it's not any safer, tastier, faster, or better. It just costs you more zeros. Well, that's inflation. That's artificial inflation. That's inflation created by printing too much money. Or as the Fed used to call it when Obama was president and they had to prop up his economy, qualitative easing. Oh yeah, you didn't know that, but the Fed dropped interest rates to fucking near zero and put out X amount of millions of dollars a month in order to keep the economy going under Obama, because if they had raised the rates, it would have tanked. If they had not kept pumping money into it, you would have known it would have tanked. Obama, using communism, almost fucked the United States completely into the dirt. But wasn't the economy coming back? No, the economy... Obama inherited a mess that he got from 2 years of Democrats running the show when Bush was president. 2006, Democrats won the House. Nancy and Harry Reid owned the House and the Senate. They wrote the spending bills. They refused to write a budget. They wouldn't write a budget and put it up and say, okay, here's the federal budget. They wouldn't do that. They just spending bill after spending bill after spending bill. You might remember talk about the debt ceiling and how, we need to raise the debt ceiling. Well, that's just borrowing money against a future that may or may not happen. And it's Nancy Pelosi herself said, well, I was against the debt ceiling before I was for it, or I was for the debt ceiling before I was against it, one or the other. But it's just a massive shitstorm of contradiction. And that is why communism always fails. Because they believe they're never going to run out of other people's money. The government should be doing none of this shit that it is doing. The government should not be a player in the economy. It needs to be a referee only. That's conservatism. Small government. Stays the fuck out of my way government. Doesn't involve itself with my private life government. And I'm not a libertarian. I'm not saying, smoke all the dope you want. Which I've always felt that a libertarian was just a conservative who wanted to smoke dope. I don't want to smoke dope. Not my thing. But the more you get government involved, the shittier things become. Waste, graft, theft. I'm sure you've read. Well, no, you wouldn't have, unless you follow me. You would not be aware that the Democrats are doing everything they can to screw up the 2020 elections. Everything, and they're not doing it. They're not doing it as a collusion. They're not all in a conspiring. It's just who they are. Democrat mailman makes sure that Republican flyers get destroyed. Democrat mailman makes sure that mail-in ballots for Republicans, they all got changed to Democrat. You can't vote for any Republicans now. If their ideas are so wonderful and they're so fucking popular, why do they all find it necessary to do what they can to cheat? And I do mean all, and I'm saying all. Mail-in ballots, that's all. Communism is not new. Socialism is not new. The left and its ideology of owning the people by virtue of terror and dictatorship and fear and, my personal favorite, the Public Safety Committee. We've had public safety committees in other communist regimes, and they were the guys who murdered the people like me. You just were found to be saying shit that is counter to the public safety. And it's a lot cheaper to just use a bullet than it is to re-educate someone. So guys like me, Public Safety Committee marks me for death. I'm just a guy. I have opinions, counter perhaps to your own. But my opinion counts just as much as yours does. In a free society, I as a private individual are allowed, A, my freedom to have opinions that are different from yours. B, my freedom to enter my opinions into the arena of ideas and not be told to shut up because it's hate speech. Okay, I have information about COVID and the branch COVIDians, which says hydrochloroquina queenie, whatever, the quoxin. HCQ with a Z-Pack, zinc and a couple other things, has been proven to be perfectly prophylactic against the dreaded Chinese Mexican beer disease. But you can't say that, because fact checkers who work for people who make a shit ton of money if you buy this very expensive cure they're going to be coming up with. I don't know what it is yet, but you know what? I guarantee it's going to be very expensive, because you can buy HCQ for about $10. $10. Nobody getting rich on that. It's been out for 70 years. People have been taking it without dying for 70 years. So we know that you don't take it and die. He took it and he died. Cures malaria. Maybe a couple other things. It's been proven. Even Dr. Fauci. Did I say that name wrong? Dr. Fauci in 2005 was talking about HCQ as a prophylactic and cure for the existing COVID diseases, the existing corona, not the nouveau. So it's not like they don't know, but there's no money in the old cure that's cheap. And if you honestly believe that the levers of power are not pulled by convincing people they need to be afraid, you don't understand how power works. Power works to buy you a new Mercedes. That's what power works for. Okay, guys, I think I've made my point. Communism is not new. Atheism is not new. Science is necessarily Christian. It is just an exploration of God. And conservatism, capitalism, is simply the private individual being allowed to keep what he earns, which inspires creativity on every level. Because if I get to keep what I earn, well, I'm going to come up with cool new ways to earn. Eli Whitney and the cotton gin, one of my personal favorites. Eli Whitney invented the cotton gin so that Eli Whitney could get rich. He was behaving as a capitalist. He didn't invent the cotton gin so that you and I, collectively, could have nicer t-shirts. Eli Whitney could not have 100 years earlier invented the cotton gin because America hadn't become yet. Europe, where everything came, all us white folk came from, still working on a feudal system where you didn't own what you manufactured or what you grew. It belonged to your landlord. It belonged to the person who did own the land. He just allowed you to live there, provided you farmed, so you could keep a little bit and he got the most. That's communism. That's what you people are steering us towards. Stop. Stop voting Democrat. This has been Pete Clark. Yeah, I put my name on it. I have been driving you mad.